This is the pedal system on the SimVosi PRO racing simulator. There's a lot of adjustability for mounting the actual pedal feel itself, as well as the electronic sensors on how it's sending the pressure load to the simulation. So starting with the mounting system, first the mounting tray is extremely strong. There's no flex in this at all. So under heavy braking, it's not going to flex, which would give a driver a false cue. It's extremely strong. It's on a sliding track, so if you have friends coming over, or if this is at a race team shop that you have multiple drivers, you can slide it forward and back and get the desired distance in a matter of seconds. Each pedal is independently mounted, and there is a sliding track system, so forward, back, left, and right. You can independently set the gap between each of the pedals. You can set where they are centered based upon the driver. So you could have the brake pedal exactly centered, or you could have it a little bit more offset to the right. Then bringing them forward, you can bring the brake pedal a little bit more forward to the driver than the gas pedal, which would be how it would be in real life, that the brake pedal pad would be closer to the driver. Then you have angle adjustment on each of the pedals, so you can set the starting angle on the pedal itself, and then you have a distance traveled of the pedal, so you could have a longer throw or a shorter throw of the pedals. Then in terms of bushings, there is a lot of different bushings and settings for each pedal. So for the throttle pedal, you have a spring, and you can adjust the tension of the throttle pedal, so you could have a lighter or softer throttle. Each pedal has a hydraulic dampener on it. Then on the clutch, you also have a spring adjuster for the clutch, as well as a throw mechanism. Then going to the brake, this is where you have the most adjustability. You have a spring preload, which is basically the pad gap. So that would be the pad to the rotor gap. So you can set the amount of tension on that spring, which would be that real low pressure release right before the pad is actually touching the rotor. And then from there, you have all sorts of different bushings and springs. We actually have some springs custom made for the pedals, which allow you to do trail braking and like in real life. And you can have many different combinations of bushing durometers as well as springs. So whether it's a Miata or a GT3 or a Formula One or prototype, you can get the pedal feel and distance traveled is exactly as what you're looking for desired. And you can have multi-stage. You can run a single spring or a double spring, or a single spring with bushings or bushings only. And again, you can have a multi-stage feel to the actual brake pedal itself. And then based upon how you're compressing it, that's also determining how much pedal travel that there actually is. Then getting into the electronic control of it, then that's where you're telling it how much pressure is required for 100% of braking, and you have that adjustability on each individual pedal. Behind the pedals, you can't see it in the video, but we also have a vibrate motor that's attached within the system. That's it does all sorts of different things, and you can have it set up for doing brake lockup or wheel lockup or ABS activation. You can have it activate under all sorts of certain circumstances. So anyways, this is kind of the overview of the professional pedal system that we use and the adjustability. And like I say, you have the adjustability to change it based upon whatever car you're running. And in terms of swapping out bushing sets, it's only a matter of about 30 seconds, and you can completely swap out the bushing and spring set on the brake pedal itself. So it's a really quick change to get the desired effect that you're trying to get. And again, with these springs, you can do trail braking just like in real life, and you can really modulate the brakes, and you can feel the limit right before lockup. You can really use it as a training tool, or if you're racing online against other people, you can have that advantage that it's giving you that one-to-one ratio of real life as to what you're looking for, and just have you turning more consistent and faster laps. This is the one-touch control panel that comes on a lot of our simulators. It allows you to, with one touch, you can launch a lot of the different features of the simulator upon startup. You can have a lot of different subfolders for like while you're in a race, you can control stuff for pit stops. So what type of adjustments, what type of, do you want tire changes done, how much fuel. You can also do in-car settings, brake bias, that type of stuff. Views, you can do your change of view for the cockpit, so you can zoom in, zoom out of the world. You can move the position up or down to get a proper position if you were changing from like a Miata to a Formula One. But this is where you would come to launch for the pedal control system. So you just come to racing, pedals, and then on the top left, the electronic pedal control panel shows up. So I'll go and move it over there so you can get a better look of it. So here's the electronic adjustments for the pedals. You have a column for each pedal. So in this case, clutch, brake, and throttle. You can save profiles for as many profiles as you'd like. So you can have profile set for class of cars, so GT3, Formula One, or you could even have a profile saved for a particular car. If within GT3 the Ferrari feels different than the Lamborghini, you can save one just as Ferrari GT3, and that allows you to get everything 100% accurate how you want. You can have just a baseline profile that works as a well-rounded profile for everything. And then again, if you have a class profile, it'll work well-rounded for everything, but this allows you to get it exactly one-to-one. So in terms of adjustments, you have dead zone. So if you want to be able to rest your foot on the pedal without it sensing any pressure, you can set a little bit of a dead zone before it's actually sensing either throttle or brake. From there, you have the curving of each pedal itself. So if you had something that you wanted to have a little bit different of a curve, say on throttle, and you wanted the initial throttle to be a little bit slow, there's some predetermined profiles, but then from there, you can adjust the curve of each independent percentage here. And then again, you could save that. For braking, you have two additional adjustments. So you are changing the actual bushings and springs on the pedal to get the actual pedal feel, but this allows you to fine tune how much force is required. Maybe you want a little bit more force required so it locks up a little bit less easy. You would increase the force required, or vice versa. If you wanted a little bit of an easier pedal, you can simply reduce the force required. And this works really well if you don't want to change bushings between classes of cars. You can simply move the pressure up or down and leave a bushing as like a well-rounded bushing setup. And this allows you to adjust how much pressure is required. Then here you can determine how stiff the actual pedal bushings that you've chosen are, whether they're soft or hard. Then here you again have the dead zone, and then you also have the curve. So you're relying on the simulation to be accurate, and some cars might be more accurate than others. And this allows you to basically override that control. And let's say a particular car is known for locking up at the very top end. You could reduce it to where at 100% of pressure, it can only possibly do 98% of braking. So that's going to prevent it from locking up. And again, if you're training for real life, or if you're actually racing online against other people, this gives you an advantage that you can set the braking exactly how you want for each car and get it to a 1-to-1 ratio. So this here would basically prevent it from being able to brake at 100%. And now we're back at 100%. And then here again, you can taper it off. If you want the braking to taper off on the top end, you can simply adjust this slider to taper off a little bit. Or if you want more braking initially, you would go down to the initial part and you would go up, and that would be more braking for less pressure, and then it tapers off. Then on the clutch, you can set bite points on the clutch. So you would go to an S shape, and here you can actually set how the bite point is for the clutch engagement on the cars. And again, then you can go over here and you can adjust the curve for the bite point. So this gives you, it's not changing the actual pedal that pressure of like a clutch release on the pedal, but it's changing how the engagement is electronically. So this is kind of this override. This is kind of an interrupter. This is between the pedals and the simulation itself. So this allows you to have a lot more control versus most pedals that it just simply has you push the pedal, each pedal down 100%, and then it's just sensing it based upon that. This is interrupting that signal and allowing you to have a lot of control. And then with the bushings and springs, you can get the feel exactly how you would like. So this is for the SimVosi PRO racing simulators. These are the pedals on the track day special and the pro models, and they have lots of adjustability to have a 1-to-1 ratio for training in real life.